What is going on, everyone? My name's Boit, and I'm back with some more Age of Mythology. The Titans action spawning in the left side of the map in the red color, playing as Odin. His name is Squash. His opponent today playing in the blue color with Odin. His name is Suppe. Yes, we have Suppe versus Squash here, and we have the exact same opening, just a little bit different. Now, you will remember that we watched a game fairly recently of Squash versus Suppe, which was a Zeus versus Odin, where Suppe did this build against Squash, but Squash also did something very, very funky against Suppe. So with the Zeus, but now it's Odin versus Odin. So I'm interested to see what the differences are in these builds. You can see that Suppe's actually delayed this ox cart quite a bit, whereas Squash, he's already got his second ox cart out, and that's got himself hunting dogs. Just as that villager gets onto that hunt over there, these villagers finish up exactly on the wood there with 30 wood remaining. He's going to be able to drop a temple down, a house down, and get himself his third ox cart out and be able to advance very, very fast. You can see the Dwarf's going to be able to come out as well perfectly here for Squash. Mr. Clean is what I like to call him, and that's because he is Mr. Clean indeed. Suppe, on the other hand, exactly the same idea. He's got himself the two ox carts. He just delayed his ox cart just that little bit more than Squash. Now, the question really does come, is it worth it to delay that ox cart, or is it not worth it to delay that ox cart? So if you come over here and you see the big thing is that the villagers were walking back and forth on this tree. They were getting the walking time in, whereas they get a 9-second increase on every villager coming out. It's coming out 9 seconds earlier. So the question does come, is it worth it to delay that ox cart and get the extra kind of gathering time with the sacrifice of the walking time, or is it better to get the ox cart out? And as you can see in the score here, both players very, very similarly going forward here. To me, it seems like Squash, Suppe, it's much of a muchness. If anything, it's probably like 5 resources one way is better than the other one. So you're not going to it's just a matter of style. In the end, you're not going to see much of a difference where that comes in. You can see that third Dwarf coming out here. We might see an ox cart an ox cart after this one, and then Squash is going to be looking to advance to the next age at about 3 minutes and 55 seconds. It's an incredibly fast advance time here from Squash. As he's finishing up here, his ox cart comes in, his villagers can jump over onto wood, and he is ready to get going. You can see he's taking that villager off of gold there as well. 5 villagers on wood, 5 villagers on food, 3 villagers on gold. Suppe, on the other hand, he doesn't care. He's going for a later advance time. Now, I think I've got a theory in my mind that in the mirror matchup, it is better to play on the defensive. Now, this might be a little bit different in the Norse mirror than it is for everything else. But the thing is here, I think that the way in which you can play this a little bit more efficiently with Odin is you can throw this temple down much, much earlier, as we can see Freya coming in. You can throw this temple down much, much earlier and start making her serve immediately as soon as you throw the temple down, and be able to advance at, say, 4 minutes and, 4 minutes and 20 seconds or something, 4 minutes and 30 seconds, and have like 4 Hersa out as you hit the classical age. But we haven't yet seen that really happening by anyone. We just see the aggressiveness here of Squash coming in as that wall is trying to get up. Squash did go through Freya as well. He's not going crazy with the Heimdall. He wants that Valkyrie there, as it's going to come in and start looking for a little bit of harass, maybe an early forest fire on this opening here to open up the base of Suppe, who's going to be very much on the defensive moving forward here. As Squash comes through, the villagers are going to be pulling back. The Valkyrie is in here looking for a little something to do, but not going to be casting that forest fire just yet. I like the play. The idea of not burning this forest is actually really big brain, because burning this forest is the one you want to burn, because you can wood starve over here on these top 2 forests if all is well, as the Ulf start getting pulled back, the Hearse are getting pulled back. We see the longhouses coming up here for Squash, the houses coming down, as well as the Valkyries pulling back. 31 pop for Squash to Soup's 30 population. So still very, very close here in terms of population, even though Squash has advanced considerably faster. So we'll see how that's going to all come down in this game here, as Soup's going to be retreating away from that Valkyrie here, and Squash is going to be getting a couple of free hits on that one, trying to push in, get a little bit more damage done over on this location. As you can see, Squash is actually, Soup is actually doing something very interesting here. He's chopping down all of his straggler trees here instead of moving over onto a separate forest, just trying to wait as long as he possibly can. The thing is, after a certain point, you actually only need 2 villagers on wood. Like basically, once you've gotten all your longhouses up, you can gotten husbandry, you can take all those villagers off of wood and go everything onto food and have an advantage where that's concerned. As you do see Squash now continuing to chase this Valkyrie. The Valkyrie taking a lot of damage over here. Squash is getting a huge advantage where that's concerned. Is now the units coming over onto this location over here, going to start putting some pressure onto this hippopotamus, as Soup needs to retreat back. He's in a lot of trouble here as he's retreating away. He's got this gold mine that's also relatively exposed here as the throwing axemen are coming in. These throwing axemen at this stage of the game are very, very strong, but Soup is making a good case for the Soup has made a good case for making raiding cavalry in this matchup. So we'll see how that's going to go, as you can both basically just see Herser throwing axemen coming in onto this location here, as Squash is at 57 population and Soup is only at 44 of 43 population. A huge advantage coming through here for Squash, but the lone raiding cavalry here chasing down this throwing axeman. I like that play, going for those straggler units with just that lone raiding cavalry, trying to get a little bit of damage done, but he doesn't get the kill, and you can heal that HP back as you are Odin, as the throwing axeman going to be moving back onto this location, going to be checking out this spot over here, trying to pick off some units. The villagers on this wood line over here might get forest fired yet again, as the villagers are going to be retreating back. One throwing axeman does go down there as the raiding cavalry come around, trying to get a bit of a surround onto those throwing axemen there, as Squash retreats back ever so slightly. These Hearse are a little bit caught out of position, but nice play from Squash. He's going to try and sneak back out of here. Another house coming down on the front here. Squash is playing this super aggressively as he's getting that getting the houses down on the front here. It means he has to continue putting pressure on, as we see a forest fire getting dropped there by Soup. That's absolutely huge, as Squash just retreats straight into that forest fire. Takes tons of damage where that's concerned, as he's pulling back. The Valkyries back in onto this fight, though. We'll see how things are going to go. More Hearse are coming out. We're now starting to see some throwing axemen coming in. Sorry, raiding cavalry coming in as the medium infantry does come through, but only 3 throwing axemen here to really grab those grab the upgrade where that's concerned, as Squash is sitting at 63 pop, Soup is at 60 pop, and looks like Soup here has leveled the playing field with that big forest fire, and now the houses are going to start getting torn down, and Squash's economy is going to start feeling a little bit painful here. It's all good micro there by Soup, keeping his raiding cavalry alive, as more houses are going to start getting taken out here, as Squash needs to decide if he's going to attack this or not, as the house is going down ever so slightly, going down very quickly here, as Squash is going to be kicking himself for this house positioning. It can be really, really tough when you're playing this aggressive with Odin to really do this correctly. But again, I think that the best play has to be, or the safest play has to be, to just send one Ulfsark back home and just accept that you don't have that Ulfsark in the early game. It has to be the right play. You have to bring him back. You have to build houses. You can build 1 or 2 houses on the front, but the rest should just come back home after all is said and done. As the raiding cavalry going to be coming in onto this position, though, the Raven has spotted this. As I have a bit of a sneeze there, jeepers. As the villagers are going to turn around, start fighting this one. Could see the forest fire coming in onto this location, as we do see that one getting dropped down, as Soup is committing fairly heavily onto this one, as the forest fire comes in absolutely beautifully, as that was like 8 raiding cavalry, or 10 raiding cavalry down to 4 raiding cavalry. A beautiful defense there by Squash, as Soup pushing in onto this front. Soup's at 90 or 85 population. Squash is at 91 population, as this fight is starting to come through. We do see the Valkyrie Valkyries starting to come out for Soup in on this fight, though. These medium throwing axemen will be a godsend in this fight right now, trying to take out the hearse, preventing the Valkyries from going down, as we do see some good micro there by Squash, but same too by Soup to deal with the hearse, as the Valkyries are playing very, very nicely from behind. Squash realizes he doesn't need to finish that house there as the fight does ensue. The population does drop down. House going to finish up now for Squash, as Squash does end up winning that fight here, as now Soup, he's going to be finishing up on this gold mine ever so slightly. There he goes. Going to have to move over onto a secondary gold mine here. If we take a look at Squash's line of sight, he doesn't have any Ravens out at the moment. Looks like they were all picked off here. So Squash is not going to know 100% that he needs to push through onto this location, but the Dwarves are moving over onto that gold mine now. We've got the units over here. I'd love to see a wall get thrown up over here. We do already have the wall over here, just to give a little bit more time here, as the raiding cavalry coming back over onto this location. Squash is defending this one nicely with his villagers here. You can see that Squash has got a healthy amount of villagers on food and on wood. It looks like Squash might be thinking about going for a second town center here with all of that wood in the bank. We'll see if that's going to be something he wants to do, or if he's going to go for the heroic cage anytime soon here. Squash, on the other hand, reluctantly starting to throw down some farms here. He really doesn't want to. He's got zebras over here, He doesn't really have access to the hippopotamus over here or the water buffalo over here. The crown crane up the top aren't really a thing either, as the units are going to start trying to push in onto this location here, as the raiding cavalry just kind of sitting back. Soup realizes he needs to just hold a little bit longer. The general thing in the mirror matchup is, if you do fall slightly behind, the best play is to just wait until you get to 115 population before you take a fight, and just try and raid and cause chaos everywhere as best as you can. Is the general game plan when you're behind. And Soup is doing this nicely here, but the lone Valkyrie here is actually kind of accounting for all of those raiding cavalry nicely there. And we do actually have Shield Maiden Valkyrie for Squash, as Soup here, it's only got the Valkyrie out. He might want to consider getting that upgrade, because it is a big upgrade where that's concerned here, as we are still seeing the raiding cavalry looking to come onto those Dwarves over here. Not going to really be able to do so, as Squash is chasing those raiding cavalry down. There's a world here where if Squash just pushes forward, he's going to be in a really nice position, as the unit's going to be pulling back, and we will be seeing that second town center coming down for Squash now, as Soup is not able to really push through here. Now Soup's response to this should basically be to push as hard as he possibly can, take down all of these houses, cause as much problems for Squash as he possibly can here while this is all going down. I don't think taking down the longhouse is really worth all too much, but he basically needs to take control of the map and try and get heroic gauge as a response to this second town center, get an advantage where that's concerned. But the units pushing in onto this location, good micro hit from Squash, pulling back over here. We are seeing the raiding cavalry still chasing down these units over here, as Soup is trying to micro that to the best of his ability. We do see Squash having to retreat back ever so slightly, but the town center is just about up here, and these units are going to be able to rejoin the battlefield here to take this fight. He's going to get a whole bunch more production out of these longhouses here coming forward as well. Squash has now got the second town center up, going to start making those Dwarves out, still chasing down these units ever so slightly. We've got 6 raiding cavalry, though, only for Squash, as Soup does decide to turn around and take this fight. He should be able to win that one, or at least not lose it all too badly here, as Soup tries to push in onto this location. The Shield Maiden Valkyrie tanking a lot of what those throwing axemen are doing. You really have to micro this incredibly well if you want to win these fights. But Shield Maiden Valkyrie against unupgraded Valkyrie with a Valkyrie advantage here at 4 to now 1 here moving forward. This is a huge advantage for Squash moving forward, as Soup loses nearly everything in this fight here. Soup's got 800 gold in the bank, but no real way to be spending that gold. He doesn't have the favor for anything, or the access to Frost Giants just yet, but he would have loved to have been in the heroic age right now for Frost Giants, but he just doesn't have it, as we are going to see the raiding cavalry coming back onto this location. But Squash is easily going to be able to fight that back there with his Dwarves just by shanking away over on that location there. As now the villagers over here are going to start getting attacked down. The ox cart gets targeted down as the raiding cavalry pushing in onto this location to take this fight, but there's still not quite enough units over here, as Soup realizes he needs this food and he cannot give it up at all at this point. We see even a longhouse getting dropped down on the front over here. 89 of 115 population for Soup to Squash's 102 of 130 population here as the units he's still got the armor, he's still got the line upgrades here of those throwing action. We don't see any armor upgrades coming through for either player here as one Valkyrie does go down, but the Valkyries are getting targeted down respectively here. Nice marker there by Soup pulling away with his Valkyrie where that's concerned, but we'll see the throwing axemen now going to start getting cleaned up here by Squash as Soup has got next to nothing left in this fight here as the Valkyrie of Soup just staying alive there with 14 HP, but will be able to get picked off very, very quickly here as it does retreat back. Soup's now sitting at 74 pop. Squash is at 88 pop, but still has tons of resources here. He's even got the armory up, and he's going through Skadi. Squash is so good at not overcommitting to staying in the classical age. He knows how to make it work, and he is going Skadi, and with that, means he's going to have access to Frost Giants, have access to Frost, have access to a myriad of different technologies that is going to give him such a huge advantage, as we do see the Dwarves now going to start taking this fight over here, deal with those unupgraded raiding cavalry very, very easily here. Maybe going to lose 1 or 2 Dwarves if Squash isn't careful here, as he does decide to turn around. There's one Dwarf getting picked off the raiding cavalry. Well, not even, as the raiding cavalry do pull away. It's just a straight victory there for Squash's Dwarves where that's concerned, as now Squash getting himself a 3rd town center. Behind all of this, he can also just click Frost onto this and just freeze all 14 of those villages here, as well as the raiding cavalry and maybe even the throwing axemen as the Frost Giant is out. Squash with a huge advantage coming forward here because Soup is just, he does have the two water buffaloes here, but he just doesn't have the food to get to the next stage. He doesn't have an armory either, as Squash does show up over here, going to be able to freeze one of those villages, and Soup does realize he does not have the ability to come back in this game. Squash has got 3 town centers. He's got the 2 forward town centers here. He's got the heroic age. He's got the Frost still in the bank. He's got all access to all the hunt on the map. It's just too much of a mountain to climb here for Soup, as Squash does get the dub here, showing off a little bit of what he's been giving away. He said he has found a new build and he likes it with Odin. He likes it with Norse, with Loki as well. I believe you can do it with Loki as well. The idea is and Soup has been doing it as well, but this is the 355 advance. This is the straight builded dwarf at the start of the game onto gold, or chop your wood straight away, delay your hunting dogs ever so slightly, then go on to hunt once you've got the hunting dogs out, and you're going to be able to have a fantastic early game against your opponent. However, Soup's build here, I do believe that the way that Soup played this was at the very least equal to what Squash did. I think that going a little bit later and having that little bit better economy in the mirror matchup is something to be aware of. That is very, very strong as well. The only thing is that Soup went for this crazy raid over here, and that forest fire picking off it must have been 6 raiding cavalry or something. In the mirror matchup, you lose 6 units. That's just game over, in all honesty, for free. And you got to be aware of that's the way you get an advantage in a mirror matchup, is those little tiny things. But a beautifully well played game. This is top level Norse Wars at the moment. We do see that there's the Thimble Winter tournament going on. I believe we've still got we've still got the finals to go. But I mean, Squash has got to be one of the guys to beat for any of those Norse experts out there. He shows a little bit of what is possible here, and I do wonder if we're going to see some of that in the finals where that's concerned. If you guys enjoyed this game, please consider hitting the follow on the Twitch. If you're on the YouTube, hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you guys in the next game.